when he said that, look, Iran, if you don't follow our cue, we are there. And by the way, Asif Munir, the Pakistan Army chief, uh, as if he's the state head, as if he's the head of the country. Well, that shows, in a way, where Asif Munir stands and where the current Pakistani Prime Minister stands. In a way, India, of course, that's not made official, but I'm sure he must have said that Trump used him, in a way, not to part with any nuclear stuff to do with helping Iran in any manner. That's, I think, one of the reasons why he was called, no doubt on that. When I saw the footage first, I thought, who are these guys who are protesting against Asif Munir standing there before his hotel in the US? But Israel has been very clear. From their perspective, I would agree with them because they have been very clear to say what they want, why they have done this, why they have initiated, and why they are going ahead with this. Now, as far as the war is concerned, they apply one policy at one end of the world and apply a different policy on the same issue on the other end of the world. Might actually be taken on a temporary basis by the US. It may not be a long-term action plan or a long-term plan that has been in place.
Namaste and a very warm welcome to the Nationalist Madrasi. This is Opsfum. We deal the strategic affairs both internally as well as externally. And today's topic is the happenings around the world, especially in the Middle East, and the actions which is taken by the US and the acts which is done recently by President Trump in various occasions. So we'll discuss that things in a very detailed manner. Today we are joined by an eminent personality. Dr. Ayanjit Sen is joined with us, and he is a professor and also a noted journalist in the field of foreign policy. Thank you, Ayanjit sir. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I have a feeling that our offline conversations go so long. Our online conversations like this should also go so long. So I think people nowadays, people are into podcasts, so you would also be knowing that. So I think we'll take this conversation as long as possible and give more insights about that. Thank you so much for joining with us, Ayanjit sir. Firstly, I would like to start with President Trump's action in various occasions. Let it be the trade tariffs increase with China, or be it calling the shots in Russia and Ukraine war, or trying to mediate between India and Pakistan, or now pushing Iran to some extent to denuclearize the entire arena and backing Israel like anything. So what is President Trump's action like? Can you see some changes in Trump 2.0? Because that we will discuss this elaborately, and then we'll come to every aspects, and then we'll discuss about General Asim Munir meeting Trump as well, because that's one of the recent hot stories which we can take it forward. So what do you think about that, sir?
See, first of all, thank you very much for having me. Now, as far as Trump is concerned, I can just say one small thing, and that is that Trump himself doesn't know what he's going to do tomorrow.
Okay.
And he's already told the media as well, in the US itself, that, look, I should be rather known as somebody who cannot be known beforehand.
Okay.
And now different actions, as you rightly pointed out, all these actions that have taken place since the Trump 2.0 started off. One, what he said before he came into power, and what he has done post coming into power. One thing definitely stands out. First of all, with India, we thought that, he's always there, and he has been
A friend of India.
a friend of India always, and has been always there for India. And suddenly, when post the Pahalgam incident, when we started off against Pakistan, he suddenly, on the flight, he just came out and told the press that, look, India and Pakistan are fighting it out. Both are our friends, and I'm there to, I'm trying to kind of dissuade the thing from happening going further. And then he claimed that he apparently, mediated, the quote unquote mediated. But to be frank to you, there's been no mediation at all. And from the Indian,
Very nice to do.
because he shouldn't have said it's mediation.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, because there was no mediation as far as the US is concerned, as far as India, Pakistan, the standoff that happened, and of course, the action which took place after that. So, one thing is certain, that number one, he's not stable with what he's saying. Now, next point is once he took power, he said, "Look, I don't want wars in the world. It should be warless kind of a world that we should live in." But then Iran is in front of us. Iran is ready. Now there, he even gave a statement, not statement rather, but in a way, those kind of implications he meant when he said that, look, Iran, if you don't follow our cue, we are there. And by the way, two warships, one has been stationed, two have been, in fact, the second one is coming in, and they have been from that part primarily. So they are kind of in the Middle Eastern region now. Okay. So you never know what might happen. But as far as US is, and one more very interesting aspect. Now, his hosting of the butcher of Pahalgam, Asif Munir, the Pakistan army chief, uh, as if he's a state head, as if he's the head of the country. Well, that shows, in a way, where Asif Munir stands and where the current Pakistani Prime Minister stands. It's military rule in Pakistan. Nothing more than that. All, the prime ministers and the other ministers who are there in Pakistan are nothing but stooges who have just been, in a way, have been appointed there. I would say, quote unquote, appointed, not elected, because election has been a farce altogether out there. So they have been appointed in a way so that to the world, it seems we are a democracy. Pakistan is a democracy. That's kind of a thing that it has been pointed out. But in effect, it is he who is ruling the country. And that is clear by the way Trump hosted him for lunch. And what Pakistan did at the same time was that, Asif Munir, he said, reports say that he was pushing that, no, Mr. Trump, you should be nominated for the Nobel Prize. And two, that you should, in a way, India, of course, that's not made official, but I'm sure he must have said that Trump used him in a way not to part with any nuclear stuff to do with helping Iran in any manner. That's, I think, one of the reasons why he was called, no doubt on that. Number two, also one more thing that because he wants Iran basically to give up. Now, of course, we don't know what the future stands for, but at least one thing is certain, that it's he who's kind of, in a way, changing the narrative. Because when the Pakistan army chief came over, there were protests against the Pakistani army chief, not by Indians, but by Pakistani Americans. And those people, those Pakistani Americans, were primarily supporters of Imran Khan, who's right now in Pakistani jail, the head of the Tehreek-e-Insaf political party of Pakistan, who's right now in jail. And he was allegedly, but I have it for certain, the documents are there with me, he has been raped by an army guy, very junior level army guy in the prison itself.
Okay.
He was taken to a local hospital post that. And then, of course, those documents are there. So now from that perspective, it's very clear that, it was surprising to see, when I saw the footage first, I thought, who are these guys who are protesting against Asif Munir standing there before his hotel in the US? And suddenly it came out, oh, they are Pakistanis and they are, so their own people are coming against their own army chief.
Okay.
And that in a way clearly shows that it is the military establishment which rules Pakistan, not just directly, of course, but in a way they make sure who's going to have power and who's not going to have power. Elections in Pakistan, again, is nothing but a farce.
Okay.
It's nothing. There is no any point of any democracy out there in Pakistan anymore. And we have seen this from another butcher called Parvez Musharraf, who was there. From that man itself, it has flowed down. And though people in the world see that as a democratic country where political parties have come to power, but it's nothing to do with any political parties.
Okay.
It's military rule in Pakistan de facto.
what is it trying to do in the case of Russia and Ukraine? Like, we'll come to the Iran and Israel, and that will take us to the current situation also. What is he trying to do with Russia and Ukraine? In the internet, he told that he spoke with several European leaders and mentioned some of the names, and he told that even President Putin has agreed for an negotiation or a ceasefire or something like that. But there seems to be no actions or no reactions from their side. They keep on like doing war with Ukraine, and that situation continues. There is no change at all from their Russian side or also from the Ukrainian side. But why is he trying to do that? As far as we can see that during the Biden's regime, no word or no control or no things were tried to some extent. Okay, let it go. Like, this is not a part of our job. This is not our narrative. Like, they were thinking like, okay, we'll safeguard US and we'll play our narrative. And they were trying to push the NATO's narratives together. Apart from that, I don't think Biden was doing anything on his narratives or for the US narratives as well. But out of the box, President Trump comes in and he says that he puts a tweet like, listen, the ceasefire has been done. President Putin has accepted. President Zelensky has accepted. Now, whatsoever. But Russia didn't give a damn for all these things. What is it, Russia, or is this the way of Russian dealing the US?
I won't say Russian dealing of the US. It's the US dealing of Russia.
Okay.
In a way where...
They didn't react, right?
No, it's not reaction, but, in case of the US, it has been speaking too much now. Without action, exactly. Because action, of course, slowly, Iran still, they haven't come in. In case of Russia and Ukraine, they have been talking as if portraying to the world that, look, we are the country who are going to solve this problem.
Okay.
And that is why he made the mistake. Trump made that mistake of saying that he had apparently negotiated Indian-Pakistan truce, which was not the case at all. So from that perspective, it's kind of a narrative being built, and I'm not sure what it will entail as far as Russia-Ukraine go, but as far as Iran and Israel come in, I think he's definitely playing a part because, and well, we don't know whether action happens, but one thing is for certain, if US action happens, it'll be by air.
Oh.
So, at all, if it happens.
For Russia.
No, I'm talking about for
Middle
against Iran. Yeah. So if the US comes into the conflict and acts against Iran, it will be primarily by air.
Okay.
In fact, not primarily, entirely
by air.
So it will be an air-led assault. Now, we don't know whether that's going to happen, but the European Union, in a way, have told the Iranian guys that, look, try and solve the situation right now.
Settle it as soon as
Settle it and, kind of some way or the other, get the entire issue solved. But Israel has been very clear. From their perspective, I would agree with them because they have been very clear to say what they want, why they have done this, why they have initiated, and why they are going ahead with this. Now, as far as the war is concerned, of course, they have been training missiles on both sides. Iran has been bombing hospitals. On the other side, Israel has been bombing the nuclear installations and different government centers. So that's happening. But the question is whether the third party comes in. And it's like, now if the US comes in, at that point of time, things may completely change. And I have a feeling that whatever happens will happen if at all US comes in, and a great amount of, what will happen rests within the next less than a week, I would say.
Okay.
Because
they have given 2 weeks of time. If
yeah, so it's not very much time left right now.
Okay.
So something or the other, this side or that side, whatever happens, whether US comes in, does not come in, puts pressure, because remember, it's also a way of putting pressure in.
Got it.
Look, if you don't act, we are behind you. So that kind of a mentality also comes in.
Got it.
So you have that kind of a thing coming in. Look, if you don't act, then we are there. Same way, because back channel talks have been happening between the Iranian established government and the US. Despite that, why did US let this happen? Or did the US not convey to the Israelis? Or the Israelis did not know themselves? Because I'm not against what Israel did. Israel did its job. No problem on that. But at the same time, if US is coming into the midst of all this, then, and if it so highly says that no, we solve conflicts, where are you solving this? You're talking quite a lot, but where is the actual solving of it? How can you bring them both sides to the table and sort it out and tell Iran, okay, let go of your nukes. Forget, but don't go for any nukes now. So let's end this. Rather than, I mean, common people lives which are being lost.
Got it. China. I think Trump was very categorical about China, we can say, from the beginning in his 1.0 or 2.0. Maybe the Biden regime would have had kind of a soft corner with the Chinese, but Trump is continuously pushing the narrative that they are putting against their narratives against China. Like even we can say that see the I think if I'm not wrong, 225% of tariffs raise against the Chinese as well. But what is it is all trying to do with China? How are they going to manage China? Because at the end of the day, in our region, India and China both are the superpowers right now. And how are they going to manage the US? Because one side they are losing the narrative that they are the superpowers of the world. How are they going to manage the other things, with especially with regards to China?
See, in case of US, I'm not talking about Trump here. I'm just talking from a US general point of view. They apply one policy at one end of the world and apply a different policy on the same issue on the other end of the world. Now, you cannot be, it's not kind of a double-edged sword. You cannot be playing that kind of a role here. If you really want to mediate, take things, solve things, then properly solve it. As far as China is concerned, well, we have seen how Biden's administration reacted vis-a-vis what Trump said when he came to power. And of course, taxes have gone up, blah, blah, all the things happened against China. Now, suddenly, the talks happened. So I don't know whether it was from the Chinese side, which took the major part of pushing in for the talks or something. But at least this much is sure, that if talks are going on if talks have gone on and they arrived to some kind of a settlement, I don't know what kind of a settlement, they're not going to make it public. But at least it seems that if that happens, then the entire power center, not just I'm not talking power center of the world, I'm talking respective power centers of different parts of Asia, different parts of the world, because it's more of regional power centers. So those regional power centers, US wants to play a very balancing game. They want to be with the right, yet hobnobbing with the wrong. You can't have two legs on two boats, because on the one side, if you're keeping that kind of a situation, then you make it very clear. But that's what puzzles me actually a little bit more.
Got it.
Because I think I don't know whether because this was not expected actually of the current administration. Now, one thing still is there behind the lines. It just may happen that certain actions which we deem that, look, those are offensive, might actually be taken on a temporary basis by the US. It may not be a long-term action plan or a long-term plan that has been in place. So, well, things are going to be clearer as time goes on, but with what's happening right now in Israel and Iran, I think that is going to definitely clear as to whether US jumps in or whether US just stands out and but push Iran, by different ways. By pressure tactics, by all sorts of pressures given in from different sides to drop the nuke program and thereby ending the war.
Got it.
Let's see.
Well, one last thing about Trump's action. Did he misunderstood the entire issue of Palgam or India dealing with terrorism or state-sponsored terrorism for a very long time? Because we didn't face Palgam in a single day. Like we have been facing for a very long time, right from 1947. We are facing issues in the border. Is the whole issue of getting a ceasefire or saying that, okay, listen, I'm doing this thing and showing off in the media like I'm trying to mediate between India and Pakistan, or inviting Azim Munir in that scale, is he taking Pakistan in a more granted manner, more than what it is expecting or more than what it deserves? Or I'll put it in this manner, like, is he misunderstanding Pakistan with regards to the Indian perspective?
I think both cases are possible. One is that the misunderstanding part, but more than that, it could be a short-term initiative. Just might be a short-term initiative to stop Pakistan from helping Iran out.
Got it.
So this can be a way of calling the head of the army there of Pakistan to meet him, have lunch with him, so as to make sure that Pakistan doesn't go ahead and help Iran there. But remember, Pakistan is also not going to say a yes, okay, we will do it. In return, Pakistan will also ask for something. Now, we don't know what conversation has happened between the two. But one thing is certain, that I think a lot depends on what actions take place. Because see, he speaks a lot, no doubt on that. But whether whatever he's speaking translates into proper actions is something which we have to wait and see. So it may be that these moves, all moves that we are watching and commenting, saying that, look, no, that's not right move by the US. It may seem right now, but maybe from a long-term initiative, it just might be used just for the time being. But also at the same time, actually, they may think that, let me get close to Pakistan so as to pressurize India to buy what we want to give, rather than India taking it from other countries, any other country. So that can also be one of the reasons. We have to remember that, this is not pure, plain diplomacy that's going on. Things are moving, number one, very fast.
Okay.
Especially with Israel, Iran. Two, US is, one today they're saying something. Tomorrow they're again moving on a bit extra mile ahead or 2 miles back. So we don't know what's unless and until whatever happens. I mean, we'll get to know that finally what happens within the next few days, hopefully. And then it will be clear what's the actual intentions of the US.
Sir, the main picture we can say that is the happenings between Israel and Iran, and of course there has been a long-standing war between Israel and the Gaza as well, and there have been protests, and there have been wars, and there have been human rights issues which have been raised in the international levels. Give us a glimpse of where all it started between Iran and Israel, because that's where we need to know about what is the history of these kinds of escalations between these two countries. Especially, it's a full-time war, we can say. It's not like bombing, like we bombed Palgam, and they were trying, they didn't cross the border even, actually. So it is not like that. So it's a full-time war, like what is happening in Israel versus Iran. And I think from the Trump 1.0, he's been very hard on Iran, we can say that, getting out of the Iranian nuclear deal. I think US was the first country to get out of the Iranian nuclear deal as well, and pushing sanctions, and even after that sanctions, many global countries refused to have a good cordial relationship with Iran as well. So he has been, and the entire election narrative of 2024 of the presidential election for both JD Vance and Trump has been fought with the main narrative setting that we will support Israel and we will back Israel like anything. So that has been one of the main narrative, and JD Vance is being portrayed as the supporter of Israel and something like that. So what is it like? How we will talk about the US presence in the Middle East later, because that's a very huge topic as well. Give us a glimpse of about what is the historical aspects of Israel and Iran, sir.
See, Iran-Israel has been a long-standing thing, but though they have, war-wise, because Israel, at the end of the day, you have to see the geographical part of where Israel is situated and how it is surrounded. So from that perspective, the Middle East region of the world, because it's at the end of the day, when you're a nuclear power, you have the power, because of which now India and Pakistan both are held in a different way by the other countries. Same way, in case of Iran, they were building one, no doubt on that, because that's where all the attacks took place. And if Iran would have built it, then it would have risen as a force from that area in the Middle East to have a big counter on Israel. Now, Israel didn't want that to happen and from the US perspective also, it was good that from US perspective, they have been, in a way, that's how, as you rightly said, Vance and Trump president himself, they were all very much with Israel, and that's the reason why, if at all, the Pakistani army guy has been called not to supply anything to Iran. That means, in a way, they are giving their all-out support to Israel.
Got it.
Which is okay. That's their country's work. But all I'm saying is, at that behest, you don't kind of hurt another friend. Now, coming back to the Middle East, see, Iran, the way Khamenei has been out there for years now, and the way the structure of the government of Iran runs vis-a-vis what happens in Israel, of course, different completely. And Iran always, because of the Palestinian issue also, it has been there. They have been kind of giving that kind of support, whatever is necessary. So that's one of the reasons why Israel does not want any nuclear power within its range. And they have been saying this right from the start. And I think it's better to have as less as number of nuclear powers as possible in that area. In South Asia, we have, if I exclude China from South Asia, then we have two already. Our country and Pakistan, of course. So from that perspective, now a very interesting aspect here. In case of Pakistan, don't forget, long back, when work was going on of the nuclear installation in Pakistan, I'm slowly wording away a little from the topic, but I'll come back to it. This is a very interesting note which suddenly came to my mind, is that India, the Indian government, was planning some kind of a attack on the upcoming installation of Pakistan there. And I'm talking about long back, during the Indira Gandhi days.
Okay.
But someone from inside the government, somebody reporting directly to the Prime Minister of India, somehow supplied the information out.
Okay. So within the close circle itself.
I wouldn't say close circle. The person was somebody working straight under the Prime Minister.
Okay.
I mean, one of the guys working under the Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi. And that person gave out that information out. I mean, because it was, I think, published in the New York Times, and immediately followed up by the US government, suddenly saying to India, don't attack Pakistan. We have credible sources telling us that you are planning to launch some kind of a attack on something that Pakistan is building. So the reason why I said this is because, and it has happened right from those days. I mean, I'm talking from the 12th, 13th century. Whenever India has been very strong, there has always been somebody within our nation, I think, or some forces within our nation which wants to weaken our own country.
Exactly. I think during the Pokhran also, 1998, something in that range, even when Vajpayee was the then Prime Minister, I think this information was also leaked to the US, if I'm not wrong. This reminds me, if I'm not wrong.
Because this is how, see, the problem is that this was just one of the things. Anyway, I'm weird away from the topic, but at the same time, now, since we were speaking about this, I suddenly remembered this anecdote and I just shared with you. But and not just, he was, of course, later, the guy was pulled up, and of course, I think, I don't know what happened to him. This I'm talking about long back. And not just that person himself, but a businessman and a few other officials as well were part of this entire thing which happened. Anyway, that's history now, but it's a history I would suggest we should learn from.
Definitely.
Because there are some things which happen. Anyway, coming back now to the Israel-Iranian conflict, I think one interesting aspect is, since Israel doesn't want Iran to be nuclearized, Iran, on the other hand, because the Iranian ruler is getting the backing of the other Muslim nations here. Not all though, but most of them. Now, US has dissuaded, hopefully, Pakistan out of it. If at all that meeting had
Pakistan is a neighborhood country of
and so situated in the way not to help them in any way. Maybe that was the reason why Asif Munir was called to Washington.
Okay.
We never know what was the reason.
Not helping Iran.
So it will be very fast to say suddenly Trump has changed his stance. But at the same time, anything is possible.
Okay.
Because we can't kind of come to a conclusion, no, this is right or that is wrong. Since we were not, physically present there, or we don't have any other source to reconfirm.
Got it.
Anyway, coming back to it, the Israel-Iranian conflict, suppose even if it stops tomorrow,
got it.
Whatever, Iran says, okay, fine, we're not going to go ahead with your nuclear ambitions. But they have given one, not a threat, but kind of a straight statement to the US, saying that you better not get involved. And if you get involved, the result will not be good.
Okay.
Now, well, more of word war, mouth war, rather than what's going to actually happen. Because there's no comparison as far as military strength goes. But one thing is certain, that if in this milieu between Iran and Israel, right from the historical days till today it has culminated into a nuclear kind of a way whereby they should not be using or creating nuclear weapons. I mean, ultimately nukes are done for that. So this anti-nuke kind of a policy. Because of that, the European Union also has been, I'm sure, they may not have come out on their own. They also may have been told by the US. You never know. So that might also be one of the possibilities. That look, pressurize now the Iranians to give it up so that the war ends. So I mean, so that innocent lives are not.
This is what the US is trying to push from their narrative.
They are trying to push different things.
Okay.
And as he rightly said, Trump himself said, you don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. I mean, from this juncture, it's very difficult to fathom but you can kind of create 2 or 3 line of thinking. Okay, this may lead to this, or this may lead to this, or this may lead to this. But what will actually lead to what? Action will say. So we're just waiting, because I think the Iran-Israel war has come to a situation where it almost has reached the peak stage. But I mean, reaching very soon. So things are happening continuously.
I think Pete of Trump also mentioned that the total surrender, something like that, and he was writing all those paragraphs as well. And what, according to US, is the total surrender means? Like give away the nukes, or is Iran ready to do that? And the point is like they destabilized Syria at one point of time. They destabilized Saddam Hussein, and so the entire Middle East knows the effect or the pressures of the US very well, apart from us actually. So can we say that Iran is also leading to that kind of a situation where they are going for a total surrender? Because like when the war has been started, like Israel has killed all the launched attacks and killed all the top military peoples and other things, like it has been continuously killing all those things. Until now we don't have any accurate details of what kind of amount of impact it has created in Tel Aviv, but we know the effect which has been created in Tehran, but we don't know what kind of impacts. We see the missiles flying from Tehran to Tel Aviv, but we don't know the impact which is created by Tehran in Tel Aviv. So what it is the total surrender means in terms of Trump's language?
Well, I have a presumption that he said one line which is very interesting. We know where Khamenei is. We know where he's hiding. We don't want to bother him now. In a way, indirectly, it shows that if they're waiting, because if they see it's dragging a bit too much, I have a feeling that they are going to kill the Iranian ruler. That's something which I feel may happen. I mean, that's something because you can't say right now, of course, but that may be in one of their agendas. You never know. So they may turn it, because at the end of the day, if he says okay, if Khamenei says okay, fine, we're not going to go for nukes and let's let the war end. I mean, it's fine. But who knows? Day after tomorrow, again, Khamenei may stand up. So that's something which US and Israel will understand, and I mean, they will take a decision whether, I mean, Israel rather would take a decision as to what will happen to the Iranian leader. But of course, as the Israeli government has already said, given thanks to the US government, saying that we have taken, I mean, thanks for all the help that US has provided to Israel. So that's of course happening, but we don't know what happens to the Iranian leader. It's not so much against the Iranian public, but despite that, there have been a huge public protest today in Tehran, and but well, who gathered that public, we don't know. So we can't say how it happened, because in during war times, anything, I mean, anybody can ask for anything at that point of time can be arranged, depending on what the situation is. So, but at least one thing is certain, that it will have to be seen whether what happens within the next few days, and if the war intensifies, there is a good chance of another Iraq happening in Iran. There is a chance. I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah, okay. So that is what the total surrender means by Trump. Sir, Russia, as we all know, has invested heavily in Iran, in the entire Middle East, we can say, Syria, everywhere. So what will be stance of Russia when it comes to the Israel-Iran war, which is happening right now? Because they are dealing with Ukraine. By the way, they are concentrating on all the activities except the mediation, which was taken up by the Trump. But what will be the stance of Russia, and what will be the stance of China as well?
Well, Russian President Putin and Xi Jinping has already had a conversation. So, and they have already come out with a statement. It was not in the preliminary stages, but as days rolled out in between the war in between Israel and Iran, where Russia and Russia, in fact, and China deplored the way it is going against Iran. Because remember, it's not just Russian investments, it's Chinese investments also. So whichever country has investments in that particular region, remember, when we talk about Balochistan, China has a huge economic presence there. They have been trying to, do it as much as possible. So they can't let Baloch move out. Same way, what Russia and China has been saying is, look, Iran should not be bothered. Now, those are their own country, I mean, the way they view it. But remember, at the same time, you have the US president who's in good terms with Putin. It's not the Democrats who are in power in the US and Russia saying this, so Democrats are going to speak against what Putin is saying. One way, it has become a big khichdi. And khichdi, when you have different vegetables coming in different ways, this entire Israel-Iran situation, when with Israel and Iran, it's very clear, well demarcated. But the other countries, sir, I mean, other countries who are there, big powers, smaller powers, neighbors, it's all I mean, today they're saying we are for X, tomorrow they're saying we may also support Y. Though now it's more or less clear as to which side who is on. But still, as I said, until the last ball is bowled, you cannot say who has won. Okay. If there is a 6 required to be hit of the last ball.
How will the Middle East react? Entire Middle East, because most of them are Islamic countries as well, and some of the countries have very good relationship with the US, especially when it comes to Saudi Arabia and other countries, or UAE, to some like other countries, like they have a very good relationship, and they have a cordial relationship with President Trump as well. What will be the reaction of the Middle East and the OPEC countries as well? We can see the Egypt, which is dead against Israel, and we can see many of the African countries, or several Middle Eastern countries who are dead against Israel as well. But they are having a very good cordial relationship with the US, but they are also backing the Iran as well. So how it will create a new equation in the Middle East arena?
All depends on what is the result of the
War.
war. Because see, the result of the war will in a way determine, because right now nobody is going to kind of say aloud anything. Of course, they can be. Suppose one country is good with Iran, so they'll say, okay, fine, we are there. But at the same time, that same country is in better good terms with the US. Now, at that point of time, they would rather shut up their mouth and stay cool till something happens. Because I think they will be, even though they are speaking, okay, let's not go to war, let not there be any war or any conflict, but they're not taking sides here, saying that, okay, look, okay, Iran, we are there with you. If need be, we will join your forces. Nobody's going to say that. Because that's not, so that's something that's going to happen, because diplomatically, more than diplomatically, I will say strategically, the US has played a brilliant game here in the Middle East area. Because everything is not diplomacy. Everything is not sitting over the table and or otherwise and doing the work. You have to strategize, thinking of what will happen within the future, not just the present. You learn from the past, you do the present, but if you can't think 5-10 years down the line, then I mean, from that perspective, if you see, it's very important that what the US has been doing till now, if I take purely an US side and speak here, then I would say they're doing a wonderful job. If I would have been a US citizen and I would have been speaking for the US, I would have said they're doing a perfect position. I mean, they're just helping out who they want to help in order to get that help back so that they can help the other country, and in a way be with Israel all through, and at the same time make sure that Iran does not get any help from anywhere. So, that's the kind of a thing that they are kind of doing it. Got it. So US is playing this game very well. I mean, not a game rather, but they're playing with the order rather in this manner.
Sir, what will be the end game in this war? So as you said, like you can see something, and what is the end game in this Israel versus Iran?
See, very personal belief. Anyway, I think if US is of course supporting Israel, so from that perspective, I think Israel has the upper hand. No doubt on that. No doubt on that. Till now, and maybe I have a feeling they will be having the upper hand.
Okay, they'll win the war. Okay.
See, it's not a game of chess where I'll say I'll win against you, but they definitely has the upper hand, because from an Israeli point of view, they are saying what they feel right, and I think, as I said, because as far as I'm concerned, I'll say, look, just for example, what India did in the SEO, they just said, look, we are not going to be present there.
Exactly.
So we are not taking the side of Iran, neither we are taking the side of Israel. But remember, India shares a very good relation, both the countries, and Iran as well. With Israel, we are really hobnobbing, we are really very good friends, and there have been very good regular exchanges between the two countries. So Israel is our partner in nation, no doubt on that. At the same time, with Iran also, we have a good relationship.
We have invested heavily in Chabahar port also, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So there has been a good investment. By the way,
Haifa port also.
But one of the ports has been hit. So don't forget that.
Yeah, sir.
See, ultimately, the world order is not so much, it's ultimately all to do with the economics. Economics define the way politics run. And not just, I'm not talking about a country, I'm talking about the world order. And from that perspective, if you see, look what, for example, China stands here. It's inevitable. China is far out there. Why will China take A or B or C, whatever? They are taking a side, because they say, look, if our side loses, our money is going to go down the drain. I mean, we lose money as well. So everything is bound by this.
And sir, like, let's have the small discussion about the US what influence in the Middle East actually. So with this ongoing happenings, the changing equations, and let's say as Israel has the upper hand, what will be the US influence in the due course of time in the Middle Eastern region?
If Iran falls, then as far as US is concerned, they already have a full domination in a way. De facto domination is there, no doubt on that. They are good. They have good relations with all the countries, more or less. So they are going to be sitting in a good seat. It's a good seat that they'll be sitting in. But Iran has been the only country, rather not only, but only big country, so to say. Because if Iran subsides, then for them it's a cakewalk. So that's one reason why also it's not just US is not just taking the help. Helping Israel because they want to help Israel. They're also helping Israel because there's something for them to gain as well from that. So nobody's just going to give you the help just because of helping. It would also get something back in return as far as international states go.
Got
So from that perspective, I think US is going to have a open field. I would say with a few balls going here and there, but the goal will be lying empty.
So, what will be the position of Israel after this happenings or after this so-called war has been stopped?
See, Israel has done what it had to do with Hamas. It has done there, and Hamas has been a terrorist group all through, and Israel has done its job very well. Now, if Iran subsides, of course, if Iran gives it up, then it would be another good victory for Israel. And one thing which I think we should learn from Israel, rather from that perspective, because learning is something which you should do from anybody. It can be the smallest country in the world. But that country might also be of some help. So, but as far as Israel is concerned, I think it's not a huge country, but just it's a good study to look beyond the obvious. It's not just through their intelligence agency that they have done a brilliant. Of course, they've done a brilliant job in Iran, because there's one guy whom the Iranian president is looking for. That guy, apparently, the Iranian president says that he betrayed Iran, giving away all the necessary info to Mossad.
Okay.
Well, that's a great prize for Mossad. I mean, Mossad has done a brilliant job, no doubt on that. But at the same time, the Iranian government, the Israeli government also has done its job well. But it will be a country which many other countries will now look up to, look the way they start and the way they finish. How they pick up the ball and make sure that the goal is scored. So, and they have done once, and I have a feeling if Iran subsides, then whatever remains of the other side is there on the other front which Israel was fighting before this. They are also going to be downed in no time. It will be a win-win situation for Israel. I'm sure it will be a great one.
Got it. I'll put my last question to you. So, if Iran loses, what will be the position of Russia? Will it have any kind of impact in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, or will it lead to a ceasefire? Like, will US pressurize Russia to do the ceasefire?
Well, if US pressurizes Russia to do a ceasefire, Russia may tell back and say, look, we said, Iranians shouldn't be attacked like this. You guys didn't hear. Now, why should I hear you? But it may be the opposite also. It may be that because of the good relations, quote-unquote, apparent good relations between both the presidents, it might happen that once this war ends, the Russia-Ukraine thing may also come to an end. It depends. I mean, that's too far-fetched right now, because right now all eyes are on what's happening there in the Middle East, and it's being watched very carefully, and it'll be recorded in a piece of history as not just one country attacking the other, but how the entire equation of a region changes with the defeat or the win. So we'll see to that as to what actually happens as it draws ahead, and let's see when it ends, because I have a feeling it should not take many more days before it comes to a final output.
Thank you so much for your insight, sir. We will discuss regularly on what is happening in international scale, and thank you so much for
so much for inviting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.